Hey everyone, Jason here. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be showing you the step-by-step workflow that I do to write articles that rank on the first page of Google and in the top positions on the first page. This is exactly what I do for my clients, where I rank their websites on the first page of Google and the top positions on the first page to bring them more leads and clients. And I'm giving all the secrets away in this free video YouTube series that I've created, where in the previous videos, I've shown how to find high-ranking topics and keywords to write about. And then in another video I showed how I write the outlines for those articles. And in this video, part 3, I'll be showing how I actually write and optimize those articles to actually rank on the first page of Google. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right in and share my screen. I'll show you exactly what I do so you can follow along and take everything that I've done and implement it yourself. So yeah, I'm just going to dive right in now. So yeah, okay guys, so what we're seeing on the screen is the outline of the article that I'm going to write about. If you watched my previous video on how to write outlines for high-ranking articles, this is the exact outline that I had created. If you don't know how to do that, just watch the previous video. I literally show all the steps of what I did. So this article's topic will be a comprehensive guide on starting a charity in Australia. This is for a client of mine who specializes in charity law, and they want to bring more leads and business to their law firm around charity law and charity governance, internal governance. And so this is one of the articles that we'll be writing about. To start the process off, I obviously review the outline and see, just remind myself. So to start the process off, let's just have a look at what the outline says. There's an intro at the top, introducing the topic and letting the site reader, the article reader, know exactly what they'll be getting if they continue scrolling through the article. And then we'll be talking about obviously the different steps of starting a charity in Australia. So first would be, choosing your charity structure. There's multiple different structures. There's multiple different structures for a charity. And so obviously someone who's trying to start a charity, they have to think about that. And then we talk about the drafting and adopting of any governing and legal documents that are required by the Australian regulatory bodies. And then thirdly, we talk about how to incorporate that charity and register it as an actual charity. And then the next step is giving a brief overview of the deductible gift recipient status of a charity, so people who want to start a charity can understand what it is and what the benefits are, and if they do want to become a DGR status charity, then there's also steps involved in that one, in achieving that. And then we're talking about preparing for fundraising, which is after the creation of a charity, the next step after creating a charity, what should they do? And obviously we have the conclusion. So nice and simple article, should be really, really helpful for anyone who wants to start a charity. And that really is the entire purpose of writing high-ranking articles. I'm going to keep reminding everyone in every one of my videos about SEO and writing high-ranking articles. All Google cares about when they push search results to the front page and then to the top results of the front page, all Google cares about is how helpful is an article and how valuable is an article to their search users, right? Think about it. Google wants to give the best results to their search users, right? Because search users are ultimately their customers. And so Google knows that by giving the best results, their search users will have the best experience using Google to find information, and then they'll continue coming back to Google to keep using Google to find other information that's relevant to them. And so our main purpose in writing this article is making sure it is as helpful to the target audience who'll be looking for this particular topic, and making sure that it is the best experience for them. So understanding that is the overarching goal of writing anything that ranks high in Google, that really guides us into understanding what we should be doing when we're writing the article, right? Don't focus on backlinks. Don't focus on internal linking. Don't focus on the technical SEO stuff. I don't know any other technical SEO terms. I'm sure there are lots. Don't focus on any of that. Just focus on how helpful and easy to read and understand is your article. If it can max all those things out, then your article will rank on the first page of Google, because Google will see that the users are finding your article really easy to understand, really helpful, and so they'll push your article to the front page of Google, right? That's all there is. It's nothing to do about how many backlinks or how many internal linking that you have. That's not what Google cares about. They care about how helpful and easy and great of an experience your article provides to their search users, right? So with that in mind, let's start writing the article. Okay, so what I usually do is I go into ChatGPT. So ChatGPT 4 is what I use. It's paid. I know someone had asked me in my previous video in the comments if they don't have a paid version of ChatGPT, what should they use? I've used Google Bard back in the day when it was still called Google Bard. It's now called Google Gemini, I think. That had some really good results, and the writing style was really important. So I'll certainly suggest using Google Gemini, and then perhaps maybe if you have the funds, maybe purchase a lifetime deal, one of those like article writers or something like that has ChatGPT 4 in there. Although I haven't used many of them, so I can't recommend any. But perhaps that could be an alternative as well if you're not able to or not willing to pay the monthly subscription for ChatGPT 4. Again, it's not ChatGPT 4 isn't the only solution or the only AI sort of model that or the only AI sort of service that you can use for this process. I just use ChatGPT 4 because it works best for me and I have a subscription to it, so might as well use it. So what we're looking at here is a previous prompt, the previous chat that I had used to actually create the outline for this article. So when we scroll up again, just to remind everyone, we will see here that I gave a prompt that I just want to write a guide on how to start a charity, and that I will provide ChatGPT copies of competitor articles that I found online. And I want ChatGPT to analyze the competitor articles and write an outline for it, right? But then, so I'm not going to go through the outline stuff, but that just to remind everyone that that's what happened in this chat. And then obviously, as I scroll down, you can see here that I'm pasting literally word for word the articles that I found online, which I thought was good. And then what ChatGPT did was it provided an outline for me to essentially use. So in my case, the outline is really helpful because I sometimes provide the outline to my clients so they could see what I'll be writing about. And then give certain suggestions. I'll be like, oh, just take that one out. It's not really that helpful from my experience. Or, you should probably include this topic as well. Or maybe you can expand on this topic and probably include. So if you're an agency working for a client, the outline is a really good deliverable that you can provide to really show the client that this is what the article will be writing about. And give them a better understanding of what they'll be expecting at the end of the month or whenever you do provide the finished article. So next is we'll continue using this chat, okay? We'll continue using this chat and I'll tell ChatGPT, thank you. I'd like you to use this outline to write an article / guide on how to start a charity in Australia. Please use the below information to write the article. Do not use anything else other than what is provided in the below information. So that's the type of prompt that I would write. So just to explain what's going on here, so just so I understand what the prompt is, I firstly tell ChatGPT, great, thanks for the outline. I'm going to please write an article guide, right? That's what we wanted to do. Cool. Then I'm going to paste in all the articles that I found online, which I thought was really good on the topic. I'm going to paste it into the same message and I'm going to tell ChatGPT in here, I'm going to say, please use just the information that I've provided you in the articles that I had pasted into the chat, right? And I also make it clear to not use any other facts or information elsewhere. Just use the information that's been provided. So that way, because obviously everyone knows that ChatGPT and large language AI models, they can hallucinate and make up information and all that. This simple prompt here is to simply limit ChatGPT to write the article using information that we've provided it. So we can trust that there's nothing else that it has made up or pulled from elsewhere. So that is it. Very simple prompt. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the articles that I found and just paste in these articles here. So one, don't worry about formatting. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to say this is article 1, this is article 2. Just be like, just paste it all in. Just dump it in there. Okay, let's have a look. Where? All right, let's find a few more. Let's find some more information on how to start a charity so we can give it a broader base of information for ChatGPT to draw for the article. That's not that great. Obviously, we don't want to put in information or articles that aren't well written because firstly, it's just not going to provide much value for ChatGPT to actually extract and put into our own article. If we want our article to be better than the competitors, we got to at the very least put information that is just as good, just like the best information that we could find. Don't put in anything in there. This is why it's important to research a competitor's articles, actually read them and assess whether they're good or not, which involves you understanding the niche and the topic that you're writing about. So don't rely on just AI to create fluffy articles that's 2 paragraphs long. It's just, you really need to have a good understanding of what you're writing about. Registering a charity. Okay, cool. So here's what I'm doing, right? So I know the outline that one of the subtopics is registration of the charity. And so you don't just have to find information on Google or competitor articles about how to start a charity. You can also start finding information online pertaining to a particular subtopic in the article that you're writing about. So ChatGPT will be able to draw some more details from those articles to talk about that one particular sub-article. Right. Okay. So let's just copy all that. Again, you don't have to worry about formatting or copying specific parts. Just put that all in there. Obviously, if you're putting a lot of articles into the initial prompt, I believe ChatGPT does have a word cutoff. So to prevent the risk of ChatGPT not reading all the articles that I provided to write the article that I wanted to write, I would break up the prompt a little bit. I'll then be like, I'm not done yet. I'll send more information in my next messages. Please do not start writing the article yet until I tell you. Please start. Okay, cool. And then ChatGPT. Yep, cool. It's fantastic. So now it's giving me more. Okay, I'm going to keep finding more. Put in there. Let's find some other subtopics. So charity structure. How to choose charity structure. Australia. Probably not that. So this article's not that great because it's hiding information behind additional links. Well, it is a lot easier for us to just find articles that has all the information that we can just copy paste, as opposed to trying to go through 10 different links to get the same information. So we'll just keep pasting. So I'm just going down each of the subtopics and finding some more information, other competitor articles specifically on that subtopic to feed into ChatGPT. Okay, cool. So I've pasted in enough information. Let's just see what ChatGPT comes up with. So I'm just going to say, please start, and then we'll see what ChatGPT comes up with. And while it's creating this, you'll notice that when I was searching for subtopics in the outline in Google, there are also a lot of articles from competitor law firms and search results that they have an article specifically covering that specific subtopic. So that's a good idea that we should be doing for all these subtopics. But obviously, because this is like a quick and dirty cheat sheets type of guide, we don't have all the information, nor do we really expect the site visitor who wants a guide to read a whole bunch of other articles covering each of these subtopics. So a guide is supposed to just be quick and dirty. Here are the steps. If you want to read more, you can click in to read more. That's how it should work. Obviously, when I work further with this client, we'll be writing more articles in depth covering each of these subtopics. So in that way, there is almost unlimited a number of topics that you can write about, because within each topic, there's multiple subtopics that you can write about. And then for each of those subtopics, you can also dive in deeper and write a separate article for those as well, right? And so that increases not only your website's topical authority, where Google can see, oh, wow, they've written so much resources that are helpful and easy to understand for this topic. Let's rank them high. But it also, allows the site visitor, your leads, and your prospective clients to dive in deeper if they do want to. If they have the time, if they want to understand more. Obviously, they can call you and submit a contact form and hire you if you're a lawyer, but they can also just dive into another article that you have, exploring deeper into a subtopic that they might care about. And so that's a further engagement of your lead. And when they do that, it's actually a really good thing, because it means that they continue to absorb your information and your expertise, and further cementing in their head that you're an expert in this area. And then they'll increase the chances of them actually reaching out and wanting to engage your services if you're a lawyer. And that sort of thinking and concept applies to any type of niche, whatever business that you're working in or whichever business that your clients are in. So Just a tip there. So now that ChatGPT has finished writing the entire article, let's just have a look at it. Okay, so it's got the introduction. Cool. I like how it in the introduction it says specifically that this guide will show them this, and this. So the site visitor will know exactly what they're going to be getting if they choose to keep scrolling, right? Next, deciding the structure of a charity. Fantastic. Before embarking on a charity, it's crucial to decide on appropriate legal structure. It talks about the most common structures being an Australian public company limited by guarantee, as well as an incorporated association, as well as trusts. Cool. What I like about this subtopic is it provides some actionable advice just from 3 dot points, which are what are the most common structures, right? A lawyer could obviously write more detail about, you could create it into, can use this structure if you want to do this. You can use this structure, you can use this structure, you can use this structure. But by citing the most common structures, this paragraph does all the hard work of is explaining to the site visitor, hey, you don't need to know all the details, but the most common structures are these 3 type of common structures. Give them a better understanding. Again, helps the site visitor to really get a better understanding of what kind of common structures they should consider for the charity. A lot of information into the fewest number of sentences, right? Trying to explain something complex into something simple. And this, I really like the way ChatGPT has written this subtopic because it does that perfectly. So what I would actually do as well is I'll probably make this into a table with 2 columns. One column is the type of structure, and the other column is what it is and who's it for. Something like that. I'll probably do that because, again, Google likes the tables, help with the readability and understanding of an article by a blog reader. And so the more tables and lists that you have, to an extent, Google will see that your article is more helpful and easier to understand and will rank this article higher. So I'll probably include a table in the final draft. The next is adopting an appropriate constitution. So this is the governance piece. Every charity needs a constitution or governing sort of document. Let's give that a read. It outlines the charity's purpose. Fantastic. Cool. So this is also really good. This is also a really good subtopic that's been written because, again, it gives actionable considerations for someone who actually wants to start a charity by saying, look, if your charity is going to be a company, then it will need a constitution. If your charity is going to be a trust, it's going to need a trust deed. It doesn't go into a lot of detail where it will bore someone because, again, this is a quick and dirty, like a cheat sheet guide on how to start a charity, right? We can obviously write a more deeper article talking about the considerations or how to create a constitution for a charity. Obviously, we could do that, but for the purposes of this guide, that this paragraph is also really good. The next steps involve formal incorporation and registration. Incorporate, apply for an ABN. Again, this is really good because it includes practical steps that someone could do straight away by reading this article, right? It cuts straight to the point. It tells the reader exactly what they need to do. Obviously, they need to find out a bit more about how to do it, but this gives them the steps of how to actually start the charity. And in this case, the steps on how to actually incorporate and register a charity. The next paragraph is understanding tax concessions and DGR status. Okay, cool. So this topic could probably be written a bit better because even though it does sort of talk about what deductible gift recipient status means for someone starting a charity, i.e. it increases the ability to attract donations and operate effectively. There's no actionable type of steps that someone starting a charity can actually consider doing. So I'll rewrite that paragraph, but let's just continue on. The next step is preparing for fundraising, requiring... Okay, cool. So preparing for fundraising, honestly, is sort of like, it's not really important of a subtopic because at that point in time, your charity has already started, right? You've already created the charity and then you're thinking about fundraising. Because the purpose of this article is on how to create a charity, preparing for fundraising is not that much of an important topic. So that's why I saw that at the end of the article. And it's also why I'll probably just leave it at that. I'm not going to improve this section here because, again, my client is a law firm. They're not special, fundraising operationists. My client is a law firm specializing in charity law. They're not, they're not a fundraising company. So it's okay that this paragraph is not perfect, right? And then lastly, final considerations before submitting your registration application. Clear and channel purpose that aligns with one ACN's categories, detailed contact information. Okay, cool. And final considerations, again, not that important because we've already gone over the actual steps, the broad steps that someone wanting to start a charity should actually consider doing. Final considerations of a clear channel purpose. That's something that would probably be more appropriate if we write an article about things to consider before starting a charity, right? Detailed contact information, that is obviously a given. We don't need to include that. Just like saying, make sure that you have a website, or make sure that you are not a criminal, or just that's just stating the obvious. We don't need to improve upon that, right? All necessary governing documents. Again, that's stating the obvious, and that has already been covered in the adapting an appropriate constitution step. So I would actually just delete this last one, and this last step was never actually in the outline anyways when we go back. And then conclusion. So again, the conclusion doesn't have to be like a law firm essay where we where we summarize all the different paragraphs or points or arguments, whatever it is, in the article. It's just a conclusion there to really just signal to the site visitor, hey, you've reached the end of the article. And yeah, that's it. So let's have a look at how many words this is, because I always like to have at least 1,000 words. So if I just copy that and I go into what is it? Character word calculator free. Okay, 563 words. Okay, so here's the next step, right? Now we're not just going to publish this. There's still a lot more steps that we need to go through to ensure that this article ranks highly on Google. One of the first things is the word count. Google cares about how helpful the article is, right? So if your article is one word and is super helpful, it's the most helpful thing in the world, then Google's going to rank it number one, right? But it's unlikely that a shorter article will rank higher than a longer article if the longer article provides more information that's helpful. And so for me, I have a standard of at least 1,000 words. So the 1,000 words is firstly to push me and my team to write articles that include more details that will be helpful. And secondly, NeuronWriter also cares about how many words there are. And also, as part of my deliverable for my clients, I don't like to write short articles. Short articles anyone can write, right? So we have to write an article that's 1,000 words or more. That's my personal standard. Again, if your client doesn't care, go ahead and just use however many words that ChatGPT has created, and you can go on with the next steps in my process. Okay, cool. So the next thing is I would actually go into NeuronWriter. NeuronWriter is okay. So what I will do next is I'll go into NeuronWriter. NeuronWriter, if you haven't heard of it before, is a SaaS. It's like a platform online that helps you write articles that are optimized for SEO. Specifically, it gives you tips and suggestions on what kind of keywords you should include in the article, and gives you a score. And the score, if you hit the score, then in NeuronWriter's eyes, it's going to be a high-ranking article. So the steps are: firstly, go to NeuronWriter, you go to new query, type in the search term that you want to rank for. In this case, how to start a charity Australia. Include the country that you're from or that you want to write this article for. The language is English, and press start. And what NeuronWriter would do now is it would analyze the top search results for that particular search term in that particular jurisdiction, in that particular language that you selected, and it would analyze what are the keywords that are most commonly shared in those top search results, and suggest those keywords to be included in your article. There's a few other things in NeuronWriter which I'll also go over that will also increase your NeuronWriter score to help increase your chances of this article ranking higher on Google. But we'll just wait for this particular query to finish. You can see here on the right-hand side is 63%. We will waiting until it is almost done. Okay, so cool, it is now done. So we will click on the query on the left-hand side, and now you'll be able to see a screen of the top search results on Google for that search term in the jurisdiction that you chose, in the language that you chose. And it automatically selects the top 10 search results. because they're the top 10 search results, NeuronWriter assumes that they're the best search results that you should, get keywords from. I don't always find that to be the case. There's actually a lot of search results in the top 10 that aren't that great, and I wouldn't actually want to get inspiration of keywords from. So, for example, I know that the first one I would not want to include because firstly the length of the search result is 127 words. I know what this looks like. This page, I'll show you. This page is this. It's just got a whole bunch of links. So certainly not going to be helpful. When you are researching, you would know which ones you want to optimize for, that you want to include in your search query in NeuronWriter, because obviously you're researching it. But if you haven't, you can also just click on each of the URLs and just check if you want to include it or not. You can also look at the content score. The content score is what NeuronWriter judges how well that content has been written for SEO. 39, pretty low for the first one. It's not that unexpected. The next one here, 23, you can see there it's got almost 7,000 words in this article. That is this one here. If you looked at one of my previous videos on how to write an outline when I was researching this topic, you would have known that I had actually said this was not a very good article at all because it's so long and it covers so many different topics that are not related to how to start a charity. So I would not actually include this in my NeuronWriter because also the content score is really low. I would not include this one here because it's 23. I wouldn't include that. I would scroll down and find a few others that are probably a bit higher in score and include those, even if they're not in the first 10 search results. And then I'll unselect a few if there's any others. Okay, cool. That's probably it. I'll probably do that. So again, just to summarize this step is to essentially tell NeuronWriter which articles you want to draw inspiration from for the type of keywords that you should include in your article. So that's essentially it. I would uncheck any that I know the articles are really badly written or really short or really, really like unrelated. And I'll also uncheck any articles which have a low content score. And I would include articles not in the top 10 search results, but have a relatively decent content score. So that's what I would do. And then I'll press next. Okay, so now that NeuronWriter has loaded itself, we can now see the actual content editor. So this is where we actually write the content and try to include the keywords to optimize it for a higher ranking in Google. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is this content score here. Currently it says 0 because we haven't put any content in the content editor. But you can see here that 73 is the top score. So our goal is to write an article that reaches the top score, either beats it or at least reaches it, so it matches the top score. And you can click on select competitors and choose custom selection to see exactly to remind yourself of which search results that you had included, which then make up the content score. And then press update if you had made any changes, or if you just close out of that. Now, what I would do is I would go to ChatGPT. I would copy the article that it had created. I'd copy it and then I would paste that into NeuronWriter. And then let's have a look at how. Okay, so the score is 14, not very good, right? But again, it's expected because we haven't made any changes to it. So now what we do is, okay, so here's what I would do first. I'll firstly make this title an H1 header. You can see there it's currently H3, so I'll make that H1. Let's see. And then we'll see what the score is like. Does it improve? A little bit. Okay, fantastic. So the other great thing about NeuronWriter is it does take into consideration the technical on-page SEO for each blog article that you're writing. So obviously that includes having one H1 header, which should be the article's title. Obviously also takes into consideration H2 headers and all that. So I would make each of these subtopics H2 headers and we'll see what the score looks like. Okay, cool. So now that we've done that, the score has increased to 26. Still pretty far off from 73. I'll explain what happened though. When we make each of these headings into H1 and H2 headers, if you go to this tab here on the right hand side, terms in headings, you can see here that NeuronWriter suggests certain words to be included in certain H1, H2, and H3 headers. And so if we include these terms in H1 and H2 and H3 headers, then that would increase the score. So this is where we start playing around with the optimizing of the article for to rank highly in Google. So deciding the structure, you can see here that we should probably include legal structure. So this is an easy one to include, and we'll see that that has lit up, and that's increased score by 1. And so this is something that we'll just have to keep doing. So I'll just speed through this. Okay, so I've got the score up to 33 right now just by amending some of the headers, some of the headings to include the suggested keywords. I'm going to make a change here that I actually wanted to record and show you. You can see here that currently the title says how to set up a charity organization in Australia, a comprehensive guide. Because the purpose of this guide is supposed to be like a quick and dirty cheat sheet with practical steps, I'd like to use the word practical as opposed to comprehensive in this particular context. So I'll replace a comprehensive guide with a practical guide. So it gives a better understanding impression to the site visitor when they're seeing this search result in Google, what they'll be getting. They won't be getting a comprehensive guide because it's not very comprehensive, but they will be getting a practical guide, which is, it's a bit shorter, a bit more brief, but it does get to the point a lot quicker. That's usually the distinction between a comprehensive guide and a practical guide. Comprehensive goes more into details, whereas practical has more practical steps. So that's what I would do here. So that's what I just wanted to include that in the video for you guys to really understand my thinking when we're trying to write a helpful guide for someone or a helpful article for someone. You can also hear how to you also see here that I've written how to set up a charity. I've included that keyword, but you can also see the percentages. So when it says 44% next to a keyword, it means that 44% of competitors use that term in H1 headers, as opposed to 11. And so I would always prioritize including a keyword that has a higher percentage over a keyword that has a lower percentage. So I would actually do how to start a charity organization, and we'll see if the score increases. Oh, fantastic. Did it go down 36? I can't remember. I'll just keep it like that. That is okay. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so obviously we could try to include. So this is a mistake that a lot of people trying to use Neuron Writer and trying to optimize articles for high rankings. This is a mistake that a lot of people make, and I don't want you to make it. And that is keyword stuffing. Right? Only because Neuron Writer suggests to include all of these keywords in your H1 and H2 headers does not mean that you should include it. These are just keywords that you should include, but only to the extent that they're helpful to the user or to the reader of the article. If you stuff all these keywords into the H1, H2 headers, yes, your score will be increased, but at that point in time, you're including keywords not to increase the helpfulness and the ease of understanding of the article, but you're adding these keywords for another purpose of trying to hit a high score, which is entirely different to what Google cares about. Google cares about how helpful and easy to understand your article is. It doesn't care about the keywords that it includes. So always only add keywords to the extent where it would actually be helpful and increase the ease of understanding of the article that you're writing about. Do not just focus on trying to stuff as many keywords in there. Obviously, if you can include every keyword that Neuron Writer suggests to the extent that that it will be helpful and actually adds to the ease of understanding of the article, then fantastic. I'm jealous. That's certainly what you should be doing, but do not include keywords where it actually detracts from the helpfulness of the article or detracts from the ease of understanding the article. Because again, we need to understand and we need to keep remembering in our minds that the purpose of writing these articles to rank high is to make sure these articles are helpful and easy to understand. And keyword stuffing, a lot of times, is counterproductive. So this is pretty much it. I don't really see any other keywords suggested by Neuron Writer that I should include in the subtitles here. Maybe I should include new charity. I'll include that one there. Preparing for fundraising for new charity. That's gone green, but the score didn't go up, but that's fine. Okay, so now we're at score 36. The word count is 579. Not ideal. It's actually very short. And the Neuron Writer suggested word count is 1,176, which is expected. That's why I always write articles that are at least 1,000 words long, or if the suggested word count is over 1,000, I try to always write articles that surpass in word count whatever Neuron Writer has suggested. And so now what we do is we have to add more content to this article. right? That's the only way to increase the word count. Here's another mistake that people do. Don't just add content and words to this article for the sake of hitting the word count. The word count is not what Google cares about. Again, the Google cares about the helpfulness of the article, right? So only include new content in this article where it actually contributes to the helpfulness and ease of understanding of the article. What does that mean? It means that we should dive deeper into each of the subtopics and add more information to each of the subtopics. So there's more details, and in that way, more words. And in that way, we hit the word count while retaining the helpfulness and actually increasing the helpfulness and ease of understanding of the article because we're including directly relevant information in the article. So, admittedly, each of these subheadings, each of these subtopics in the article right now are rather short. They do look very short. So let's try to beef them up a bit. So Neuron Writer has these AI writing features. If you go to AI writing, the AI writing tab, and then you could see here they could expand the text. I'm just going to do a live demonstration of. Okay, yeah. So this is why I don't use the AI writing features of these tools. Firstly, it's because you're not able to limit what information the tool uses to actually write more information. You're not able to limit that, so you don't know where that information is coming from. And again, for any article that we're writing, the helpfulness of the article is very dependent on the accuracy of the information provided, right? And so we need to always make sure that the information that's written by AI or by ourselves manually must be accurate. That's one reason I'm not using the AI writing features here, because you're not able to tell it to write information based on certain facts or certain examples or drafts of information that you provided. And secondly, it's also, I don't actually understand why it's given me this type of formatting. It's a lot more work it just doesn't flow well with the rest of the article. You can see here, right? It certainly has expanded the article. It's added like 500 words to the article, but again, it's not helpful information. It's not structured in a way that's easy to understand, and it's not accurate. Well, there's a risk of inaccuracy, which is not acceptable. So I never use these sort of AI writing tools. It's you can also click into these. You can use these more advanced writing templates and prompts that Neuron Writer has. But again, purpose of these AI writers is to include terms, include keywords in H1, H2, and the body of the article, but it doesn't include anywhere about accuracy, right? And so it's actually I would never use these tools. Neuron Writer is a great tool for optimizing for SEO. By including the keywords, but I would never use the AI writing tools. His accuracy is very, very difficult to control for when using these articles. So what I would do instead to expand the number of words while ensuring that the information being added is helpful and easy to understand is I would actually go back to ChatGPT, put another prompt in the same chat. I'd be like, thank you. Please expand a bit more into this subtopic below that you have written. Particular paragraph that I wanted to expand a bit more into. In this case, it is the deciding the structure of the charity section. So I'll just copy that. I'll copy it word for word because I want to let ChatGPT know exactly which paragraph that it had written, which I wanted to expand more, so it can write more into that topic with the context that it has used previously to write the initial draft that you have written. I also would include what I liked about the way it has written, so it retains that characteristic. It retains the information that I liked previously. So I'll be like, I like that you had made it really easy to understand. Okay, so let's analyze a prompt here. So I've asked it to expand a bit more into the subtopic. Nice. I then included what I liked about what it has written, so it will retain that. And then I had included what I wanted to write about, right? What I wanted to expand a bit more into. So it gives direction to ChatGPT about the purpose of the information that it should be writing in addition to what it has already written. And in this case, always ensuring that we're keeping in mind the perspective of the reader and what they care about. If they're reading this particular paragraph about deciding which structure the charity should be, they would likely care about like a bit more information about each of the structures. Without giving any direction to ChatGPT, it's just going to guess as to what it should be writing about. Again, have in mind that we want to increase the helpfulness and ease of understanding of the article. And having that in mind, what would be helpful to people reading this paragraph? In this case, it will probably be helpful if they have a bit more detail about the differences between each of the legal structures and who they're for, right? And so that's why I've structured this prompt this way, and then I've also included the actual previous draft that it has provided me, and then now it has now that ChatGPT has then just given me the expanded text, and I really like this expanded text because it breaks it down into the 3 different most common types of legal structures for charity, and then it calls out who it's ideal for. So that's really good because it's calling out people who um, it's directly relating to the specific type of person or organization that's wanting to start a charity. It helps with the helpfulness of the article because it directly relates to each particular type of charity. It also helps with the ease of understanding because it means that people can see if they're not the ideal sort of audience for this particular legal structure, they could just skip it and go to the next one. So it's helpful and it helps with the ease of understanding, which is great because that's what Google cares about when they try to push this article to rank number 1. Last thing is I'll remove the final thoughts. So ChatGPT, again, it hallucinates sometimes, and it interpreted that ChatGPT should write like a whole article about it, which is why they've included like a concluding paragraph. I'm going to exclude this because, again, it's not helpful, right? We don't care. Like, it's actually going to hinder the ease of understanding of this paragraph if we include final thoughts into it. It just doesn't make sense. So we'll definitely remove this. And so what I would do, instead of pasting this well-written expanded text into the article directly, I would actually create a table. And the table, again, helps the readability and ease of understanding of the information presented to the blog article, which again is entirely what Google cares about when they're trying to push this article up to rank higher. And so here's a nice little tip: is if you go to competition tab in your own writer, you go to the SERP layout and features, you'll be able to see the top 10 results and what sort of features they've included. You can see here only one of those search results includes a table, and so that's a great opportunity for us to add a table as well to really outrank these other articles. Obviously, we got to write a good article first as well. So I'm going to put in the table. You can add in a table by simply clicking on these 3 dots here, and then click the table tool, and then insert the number of cells that you want. So deal for and features, something like that. I'll make that bold so it's easier for the person to see, and then I would include the actual information. I would also actually make these H3 headers. Cool. Okay, so I've just populated the table, and then what I'll do now is I'll just include a little paragraph right above the table to make it a bit easier to introduce what the table is all about. So put that in. I'll put that last paragraph here. Okay, so you can see here that the score hasn't really increased that much, but we don't really put in the table just for the score, right? The table we know will increase the readability and helpfulness of the article, so we always have to include that in there. The score is a guide. We always want to hit it. But if it doesn't increase it, we don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. Just keep trying to add more helpful content until it does reach the top score. So the next thing I would do would be to, well, I can actually see here that it's actually added quite a few number of words, and those are words which are helpful to the article because it expands into a specific subparagraph of the topic as opposed to just keyword stuffing. Next thing I would do is I would see if I could expand a bit more about this subtopic here. So we will go back to ChatGPT, and then I will just copy the similar sort of prompt, put that in there. Oops, thank you. Please also expand a bit more into the subtopic below that you have written, and then I'll paste in the subtopic below, which is the adopting an appropriate constitution. Put that in there, and then the rest of the prompt is put in something that I liked about it. Okay, let's analyze this prompt again. So again, we included the request to expand an existing draft of a subtopic that ChatGPT has written. We've then included what we liked about it, and then we give it a request to expand with direction as to what to expand into. In this case, we're telling it to provide some more information to people wanting to know a bit more about how to proceed with creating a governing document for their charity and considerations they must have. Because ultimately, the purpose of having this particular step in this practical guide is to let people know what they should think about and how to create a governing document or constitution for the charity. That's the entire purpose, and that's why we want to expand a bit more into that particular purpose. So let's enter and then see what it does. Okay, so ChatGPT has again expanded into this particular subtopic, and what I really liked about this one is it breaks it down again into the different considerations for each of the common legal structures. So again, further helps the site visitor understand a bit more about what to consider for each of the legal structures that a charity can take the form of. So again, I would copy the introductory paragraph, and then I'll make this into a table again for ease of readability and understanding. Let's see if I could copy this existing table first. There we go. Okay, and then. So you'll notice here that I'm not actually inputting any keywords that's suggested by NeuronWriter yet. Because again, the main goal is ensuring that the article is helpful to the user. And so I'm putting in information that's helpful to the user. And only once I've done that, then I'll start including keywords to increase the score. So again, this table hasn't included the score at all, which is fine. Because again, as I said, so here I'm looking at, it's got some more general advice on creating governing documents. I'm considering including this, but it's probably going to make the article too long. And I probably won't include it. Also, this is actually probably a good basis or outline for a new article on how to create governing documents for a charity. So I would exclude this and then just include this bit here. Again, it's understanding what information is relevant enough and directly answering the topic enough to include an article, and what information could probably be omitted and left out, and probably made into a separate article. So now we've got the word count to 1,200. Great, so we've hit the word count. But again, that's not the goal, right? The goal is to make sure the article is helpful. And as you can see, because I am forced to increase the word count, I ultimately have added more information which is actually helpful to the site reader, and while ensuring that the article and the information in it is easy to understand by including these tables. So that is the ultimate consideration. I'm just going to keep repeating that throughout all these YouTube videos, because I don't think it's been emphasized enough across the SEO YouTube space. Okay, next would be, I know that I need to make this paragraph better. Understanding tax concessions and DGR status. I said that previously in the earlier on in the video. I need to make it better, so I'm going to do that. So let's do that. I'm going to ask ChatGPT. Thank you. You had written the below paragraph. I want you to expand a bit more into. Cool. Let's have a look at this prompt. I did not compliment it because I didn't really like it. But I did say to expand more into what a deductible gift recipient is, and how it benefits charities and what it means to the site visitor who is starting a charity, right? Also wanted to focus on the practical considerations and steps, because again, the entire purpose of this article is to be a practical guide. Let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. Okay, sort of written a whole article on it, which is not ideal, because again, we don't want the article to be too long. And it has this is a lot. Oh, okay, this is not very good. This is way too long. So what I would do instead is I'll wait for it to finish, and I'll be like, that is way too long. Make the final draft a bit longer than the original draft you had provided me, which is below for your reference. So I would just add in the original draft again. And then I'll put in, make sure to include the key takeaways to keep it concise and brief and easy to understand. Okay, let's have a look. So this is a playing around bit with ChatGPT and the prompts to make sure that we get the right output that we need. Okay, so now ChatGPT has sort of gone and just ignored me. This is not very good. This is not very good at all. So I would actually re-put in the original prompt. It's not that great. it still reads really fluffy. It still reads like as if it's just sort of added words into it just for the sake of adding words. However, it has actually improved on the previous draft because this new draft, well, the bit that I've highlighted has actually called out the specific benefit that deductible gift recipient status brings, which is tax deductions for donors to the new charity, and also the fact that because of that, it incentivizes the receiving of donations by supporters. So it has improved on the previous draft, which didn't include those details. And with that in mind, I would actually use just that bit here to put into the article. It hasn't expanded the text that much. I think it's only added one extra sentence, but again, the purpose isn't to expand and increase the word count; it's to make sure that the information is helpful. The second part though, I wouldn't actually include because it's just general information. Like it doesn't really add any value, right? Navigating the eligibility criteria is crucial. Of course, it is, right? Everyone knows that. Involves assessment. Sure, that's kind of a given. We don't really need to include more. We don't. It's not worth a person reading this to get that understanding. Like they already know it. And again, considering the complexities involved, it's advisable to engage in detailed planning. Da da da. Again, one in consideration in terms of making sure that the article is easy to understand is always thinking: is the information being provided in the sentence that we're looking at or the paragraph that we're looking at? Is it worth the time the site visitor has to dedicate and invest to read it, right? If it's not, if this information we're providing is not worth their time, don't include it, right? So this is certainly not worth their time. Like this is stuff that someone could just tell them on the phone call with a lawyer, or they could just find out themselves. We don't need to waste their time just to tell them this information because it's probably not that helpful. It's certainly not as helpful as the first part here, where we actually tell them information about tax deductions being available if a donor donates to a deductible gift recipient charity, and the fact that that incentivizes donations to the charity. All right, that information is probably worth a lot more for the same amount of reading and effort that the blog writer has to put into, as opposed to the other half of the article, as opposed to the other half of this paragraph. So we would just include the first bit and then put that in here. Hopefully, you're starting to understand just how to write a helpful article that's easy to understand, because ultimately that's what Google cares about, right? Yeah, I'll make these long videos because there's a lot of considerations to include that's actually really difficult to just put into a 10-minute YouTube video. And I'm really all about providing value to people who subscribe to me and people who watch their videos, because I appreciate the people who put in the time to watch these videos. So I want to make sure that you're getting more value. I want to make sure that that the time that you put into watching my videos is worth it for you by providing all this information to you guys. So so that paragraph has been improved. Fantastic. The fundraising bit, we don't really care because, again, as I said previously, this law firm client of ours they're not a fundraising company. They're a law firm, and so there's more work for them to be done for a charity client. In terms of the legality stuff as opposed to the fundraising stuff. Final considerations, let's delete that. That's really not that helpful. No one really cares. And we'll have a concluding paragraph anyways. We would also just make sure that, so the next step, right, is just going through, because we have the word count or it's over 1,000 words. I really wouldn't add any more information into it. This is already a really helpful article, I think. So what I would do now is I would try to include these keywords here. So I know that Neuron Writer has an auto insert feature. So let's just see what it does. If I click auto insert, I never used the auto insert feature before. I've always just tried to add it in myself because I always trusted my own judgment as to what sounds natural and what okay, cool. So what this auto insert feature does is it suggests where these keywords could be included. What I would like NeuronWriter to do is actually, if you click onto it, it does show you. Fantastic. So what this auto insert feature does is it suggests where suggested keywords can be included into the article, and it gives you a preview. And importantly, it doesn't make the change unless you accept it, which is really important because I always want to read the article, read the suggested insertion first, and then assess whether it should be accepted or not. So in this case, this makes sense, so I'll accept. So let's just pay attention to the score. It's 38 now. What's this? Why does it have a Oh, it has a tick because we just accepted it. Cool. Next one. I wouldn't actually include this bit here. I wouldn't accept that one. So here is why I don't often use the auto insert feature. The auto insert feature, although at the beginning on first impressions is quite nifty, and it does sort of find places to add these keywords. Again, the accuracy is a risk. Adding these keywords in here may sound like it makes sense, but it might no longer actually make that sentence or that message accurate, right? So if you look at this particular sentence here, it says suitable for organizations that do not plan to scale their operations beyond their state or territory, but still require a formal structure. Here, the suggestion is suitable for organizations that do not plan to scale their operations beyond the state or territory, but still require formal structure, especially if registered as a not-for-profit. Right, so it has added this new additional phrase in here. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's real or not. I don't know if that's factually correct or not. And so I'm actually very hesitant to use the auto insert feature because it could change the meaning of that paragraph drastically to the point where it's no longer accurate. So I would suggest just having a look at the auto insert and seeing if there is anything that can be included which you are confident it would not change the original meaning of the sentence or the paragraph. But don't just blindly accept every suggestion that the auto insert feature has suggested, because again, the auto insert feature, I doubt, actually checks the factual accuracy of the new sentence after the auto insertion has occurred. So yeah, again, this is so I wouldn't actually use any of these auto insert features. I would actually just go in and so here's what I would actually do. I would manually look at each of these keywords and see where we could insert it. It's a long process, but again, this is work that would add value, actual real value to this article, and make sure that it not only retains its helpfulness and ease of readability, but actually is enhanced for SEO without compromising on the factual accuracy. So there's certainly space to put not for profit. Let's have a look. Okay, so I've boosted the score to 44 right now by including organically and manually a lot of the keywords that I have been suggested to by NeuroWriter. So it's still pretty far off from the 73 top score. So what I would do now is I would actually go into the title. You see here the title, there's a little text box in the title, and I would put in a title here and then see if and try to include as many of these keywords as I can. How to start a charity organization in Australia, practical guide. Okay. Again, you don't want to keyword stuff this title because it should be as relevant to the actual article itself. My article doesn't include mentions on not-for-profit, or it doesn't have a specific focus on how to register as a charity, and so I would not include these. The description, I would have to write a description. Let's have a look if we could generate a description with AI. Fantastic. We'll have a look. Cool. So that has done a pretty good job. And then we'll press save and close, and we'll see how that's affected the score. Sweet. So that has increased the score to 63. So we're 10 points away. So the title itself, the meta title and the meta description, in case you don't know what this is, the title is what appears in the actual search results as a title, and the description theoretically should also appear in the description of the search results. But a lot of times Google doesn't really care, and they just extract their own meta description depending on the search term of the user. So, but we will still include the description there just to make sure that the score is hit. Because a lot of times the meta description that we do include actually does appear in Google, so it's still an important aspect to write. Now, so let's see what else we could do to increase the score. I would probably let's try to see if there's any terms. Again, this is really the hard part, right? This is why writing a helpful article that ranks high is not an easy task, because there's a lot of, it's not just a one-click long form writing thing. It's we have to actually put in effort. Anything that's worthwhile takes a lot of time and effort. So again, I'm giving you all the secrets. This is exactly what I do to write articles that rank highly on Google. Again, if you're a law firm who needs help doing this, or you don't have time to do it, or your paralegals just don't have time, certainly reach out to my agency, Conversion Legal, book in a call, and I'll tell you exactly what we'll do. and then how we'll achieve some fantastic SEO results for your law firm's webpage and digital presence to gain more leads and clients. So I'll just go ahead and keep optimizing and trying to put in as many keywords as I can in here. Again, making sure that it's still helpful and easy to understand, and then we'll try to get that 73 high score. Okay, so got the score to 64. I reckon there's really nothing else that I could add into this existing article. So the next best thing that we can do is try to expand a little bit more into another subtopic. In this case, I've chosen this subtopic on incorporating your organization with ASIC and registering it as a charity with ACNC. So I'm sure we could add some more details in there to provide some more information as to how to do that. So we'll just go back to ChatGPT and be like, thank you. You had previously written this paragraph below, which I really liked. Okay, so let's analyze a prompt again. So here, again, we referenced the previous draft of the paragraph that ChatGPT has created, so it knows exactly what we're talking about, and so it also has the context for the additional information that it will be adding to this paragraph. I also commented that I like that it was a very practical paragraph with steps on how to incorporate and register the charity, and then I asked it to expand a little bit more on how to actually do it, how to actually incorporate and how to actually register for someone looking to start a charity. Really, it's important to call out the ideal clientele or the lead or the blog reader who will be reading this article to really give direction to ChatGPT. So let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. Hopefully, this will be the last sort of writing aspect of this process. It could take as long as you need it to be. And really there is no shortcuts. The process I'm going through now, that this entire process has a lot of shortcuts built into it already. For example, using ChatGPT to rewrite things. My goal here is to use shortcuts where it does not compromise on the quality, helpfulness, and ease of understanding of the article. And even better, using shortcuts to increase the helpfulness and ease of understanding. A lot of people out online use shortcuts, and it really drastically detracts from the helpfulness and the quality of the article, and that's never a good thing. Okay, so that's actually really long. That's way too long. I'll actually this text is supposed to be a paragraph in the general article, and hence I don't want it to be too long and nor have a concluding paragraph. So just giving it a prompt, letting it know that I actually want it to be quite short, the paragraph, and don't have a conclusion. And also just reminded it, ChatGPT, that it's supposed to be a paragraph in the general article that we're writing about. Can you make that a bit easier to read? It's just a wall of text at the moment and doesn't help with readability, understanding our message. Okay, it just sort of failed a little bit. Okay, so it's clearly sort of gone haywire a little bit. It doesn't really understand what I want it to do. So in that case, I will sort of copy this draft because I do like how it has done it. I especially like how it has the steps, right? And then how to do it and why it's important. So I'll just paste that in there and I'll tell it, please make the above text shorter while retaining the message and without compromising on message. Okay, let's have a look how well that is. Okay, you know what? The short one is really not that much better because, so here's why I think the original sort of the longer paragraph is actually better, because it does provide more information. It is more helpful. And let's just see how much more words it includes. Because again, I'm conscious of not adding too many words, because adding too many words does detract from the helpfulness and ease of understanding. So let's just have a look. Paste that in there. Yes. Okay, and this should be H3. Okay, cool. So let me explain why I had structured this new expanded text this way. Because even this is a practical guide, right? And so we do want to provide steps. And so where we can provide steps without really bogging down the rest of the article and its entire purpose, let's do it, right? Because it does help providing practical steps. People reading articles, they want to know what to do next. And so if we can do that, without detracting from the overall readability and helpfulness of the article, we should certainly do that. In this case, the steps of incorporating an organization with ASIC and registering as a charity, they involve steps, obviously. And those steps are quite simple. And so in that case, I chose to include these steps. And what I've also done is I've actually labeled each one as step 1, step 2, and step. It's easier to understand. It's easier to read. What are the steps? What are the steps involved in registering with ASIC and registering as a charity with ACNC? And I also made some H3 headers as well because again, it helps with the structure of the article. By doing that, we've increased the score to 65, so we're pretty close. I'm quite confident that we'll be able to find some information in here that we could insert or replace with the keywords suggested by Neuron Writer. So here's another thing that I'll be doing to increase the score. I've realized when I look through each of the keywords that there are some references to unincorporated associations as a potential legal structure for a charity. So in the section here about deciding which legal structure for a charity you should choose, currently there's only 3 legal structures. I'm going to add in a 4th legal structure called an unincorporated association. And then I'm going to include, I'm going to fill out this table with who it's ideal for and the main characteristics. And to do that, to write that, I have included a prompt in the same chat as the previous ChatGPT chats. I've said that I want to write a section about choosing an unincorporated association as a charity legal structure and who it's ideal for and its key characteristics in a similar format to the below. And I've pasted in the previous paragraph written by ChatGPT where it talked about the 3 most common legal structures for charities and who each of them are ideal for and what each of the characteristics are. So I've pasted that in there into the prompt as an example to give ChatGPT direction as to how to format this new text that I wanted to write. And then I've also said, given instruction to only write by drawing information from the below text. And here I've pasted in an article that I found online, unincorporated associations. So I've pasted that in there, and then we'll put that, we'll send that to ChatGPT and we'll see what it says. Cool, fantastic. I can already see that it has put it into the same sort of format that I would like it to do. So I will just paste that into the table. Cool. So we'll copy that into here. And again, this is all in the name of providing helpful information. And I also got to make sure that the formatting is consistent. So you'll notice here that the key considerations, none of them have bolded titles. So I'll remove the bolded titles from each of these list items as well. And that helps with the readability. And then I will see if I unincorporated. I'll see if there's any keywords that I could include that are related to unincorporated, really. That's all right. One to achieve is something there. Okay. The next bit is the registration as a charity. So certainly could include a few things in here, I'm sure. Okay, so that took a while, but I finally hit the high score of 73. We could try to keep going and increase it to 74, but at that point in time, there's really not much point in doing that because firstly, we hit the high score. And secondly, increasing and adding any more keywords would actually just hinder the readability and helpfulness of the article. So what I had literally done was I had gone through each of the paragraphs and read each sentences. So what I had literally done was I went through each of the paragraphs, read each of the sentences, and try to see which keywords can be switched into some existing sentences, which keywords could be inserted, and yeah, just kept doing it. It's tough work, but it's certainly worth it to ensure that the article remains helpful, remains on topic, and remains easy to understand by the reader. Now, I always try to avoid using AI to do it because it's just, a lot of times the risk of misinformation, it's just not worth it. So now that is done, the next step is to essentially put this into a WordPress post, right? And so I'm not going to show you how to do that because I'm sure you already know how to do that. Essentially just copy paste. Okay, so I'm sure everyone knows how to create a new blog post on their website, especially if you've been doing this for a while. It's also very simple if you haven't. But here I've essentially pasted in all the information, the entire article into the WordPress post interface, including the title. I've also included a table of contents right after the introduction. This plugin is called Simple TOC. It's really important to include a table of content in all your articles because it helps with the readability of the article in the sense that a site visitor, when they land on the page, they'll be able to navigate specifically to whichever topic that's relevant to them, and hence increases the helpfulness of your article. And secondly, it further convinces a fresh site visitor who has just landed on a page what they can expect to see if they continue scrolling. It's a way to provide some summary of the article to them so they could really convince them to stay, right? Because a lot of times you click on an article or something and you just click back because you just don't think it's relevant. But having a table of content there, super important for that. And again, it's all for the readability and the helpfulness of the article and for the end goal of ensuring that Google pushes this article up higher in the rankings. So next thing is, I've already pasted in here. The next thing is I would actually include the SEO title and the SEO description. This is copied straight over from what was generated in Neuron Writer. The original title that was generated by Neuron Writer was actually How to Start a Charity Organization in Australia, a practical guide. This particular Smart Crawl plugin actually assesses how long or how short your SEO title is, and you can see here that because if it's yellow, it means it's too long. And so some parts of the title will be cut off in the Google search results. And so that's not ideal because we want the entire title to appear in Google search results. So I would essentially just delete one word, which I think is not relevant or doesn't add enough value to justify the title being cut off. And then now you can see that it's gone to green, which means that the entire title will appear in the Google search results. Fortunately, the description is the right length, so I'm not going to do anything there. The last thing I would do is I would add a feature image. Essentially, just go to pexels.com or Unsplash or any other royalty-free or even paid stock image website. Put in a stock image that's relevant to this article, and then hit publish. In the case of myself, because this is written for a client's website, I would send a draft of this article to the client first to get their approval, and once they approve, then we click publish, and then we will send this out for index. And then, that's about it. That's how you write a high-ranking article that ranks in the first page and in the first positions of Google. It's always focusing on making sure the article is really helpful, really easy to understand, and better than any other article out there. That's the only way that Google will identify your article as the most helpful, best article to suggest to their search users. To summarize, essentially, we first do some research into competitor articles, which we want to then put into ChatGPT to then write an entire article based on the outline that we created in the previous video. And then we would copy that into Neuron Writer and then essentially just start playing around with the keywords and showing that we put in relevant keywords that are actually helpful to the understanding of the article and without detracting from the helpfulness and the usability and the readability of the article. And then we would essentially, if the word count is too little, then we'll add in more words. But again, only if the words are helpful to the article and to the user reading the article. And then after that, once we hit the high score on Neuron Writer, ensure that the SEO title and the SEO description is completed, and then put it into the WordPress post creator and then publish. And that's it. Hopefully this was helpful. I know this is a very, very, very long video, but this is the reality. But this is the reality of what's involved in writing good quality articles that help your ideal clients, help your leads, and attract business and clients to your business. That is what it's involved. It's not about using some shortcut ChatGPT article creator or some AppSumo lifetime deal article creator that, one-click long-form article. It's not about that at all. It's really about providing value. And Google is really good at picking up articles that provide value to their search users, and it's on that basis that Google will rank this article higher than anyone else. So without further ado, I'm just going to leave it there. If you have any questions or comments or feedback, suggestions, put it in the comments below. I react and I respond to every single comment out there. What I'm thinking for the next video would be essentially a breakdown of a few blog articles that I found online and how it could be done better. I think giving examples of well-written articles and examples of poorly written articles and how it can be done better will be helpful to you in understanding how to write better, more helpful, higher ranking articles for your business or your clients' businesses. So yeah, thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.